Welcome to Look, Listen, Laugh. My guest this episode is Georgie Carroll, or Nurse Georgie Carroll, as she's known by her beloved fans. And she's a comedian that's really paved her own way in the comedy world. I saw her show and it was just an incredible experience being surrounded by all these nurses and people from the medical field. It was a real communal atmosphere, and she's killing it. She's selling out theatres all over Australia, the UK, and she's just a real unique person. I think you're going to enjoy this one. We're going to delve into her favourite album, film, and book. So enjoy my conversation with Georgie Carroll. Georgie.
Hi.
It's great to see you.
And you, mate.
Yeah.
I know we've not hung massively before, have we? I've bumped into at parties.
We've always bumped in at different events and things, and had a good quick chat, and I've always enjoyed running into you, whether it be backstage like at a gala before going on or wherever. But
now we're going to bond proper.
I know.
We're going to bond proper over our favourite things.
Yes. Well, I feel like I bonded with you. Let's coming to your show last night, which was great.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I love my show.
It's fantastic.
Tell me you loved it too.
Yeah, of course.
I love my show.
As did everyone there last night.
It's like a little cult, isn't it? It's like everybody has a shared experience of it's healthcare, isn't it? So it's mainly healthcare workers.
Yeah. But you know what? I was waiting in line beforehand coming in.
Yeah.
You had this massive line, for this big sold out show. And it was a doctor and his friend behind me. Yeah. And the friend said to him, "Have you seen her before?" And he goes, "Nah." And the other friend goes, "Well, she must be good. Look at this line." And then they ended up sitting next to me, and they loved it. Yeah, it was great. And you know what was so good too is the fact watching. It had a kind of communal feel in the audience,
It is, and I'm about as brutal as you can be, I hope, but keeping it kind.
Yes.
I'm not mean about anybody that we look after or anybody we work with, because I've genuinely loved people, like every single one of them. I've never met anyone I haven't loved.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? It's quite.
No, but you see that, but it's like you don't mince words either.
No.
It's like you lay it down.
Oh no, like a mother. I love them all, but I'm
there's a nurturing.
Not gonna mince my words.
Foundation of nurture there, but discipline.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm hoping to hit.
And
sometimes it goes wrong, and then I get a lot of feedback. It's a little tightrope walk.
Sure.
Yeah.
But being a nurse for so many years and having so many people that are like-minded in the audience too, you could feel that. Like you would say something, and there was one lady that was kind of a couple rows around. She would turn. It's so true.
Yes.
To it the other, and they're all like,
that.
Yes.
I do that.
Yeah. So it's great to have that.
It's a joy. It's a joy, and it's such a particular audience. And I don't know how often you gig to a room full of women, and it is 90% women. My audience. Yeah. 90% women. There's something so unbridled about women laughing together. I mean, it's annoying if you're at a dinner, if you're at a restaurant and there's a table of 6 of them nearby shrieking. But then when you pack them in and the point is to make them laugh, you can't get anything better.
But in that room last night too, there was and I'm sure you feel it on stage, it's like that crack. Like you deliver a punchline and it's like the noise from the audience is this momentous.
It's what I remember from the first time I did comedy. I didn't know it was going to happen. And then, because I've always liked tickling people at a dinner party. I've always liked storytelling. Yeah. And fibbing, if we're honest. I like building it into the most ridiculous version it can be.
Yes.
And I've always really enjoyed that. And then, the first open mic I did, I didn't know it was going to happen, but I didn't sleep for 2 days afterwards. Just that punch in the stomach of making I think it was about 70 people that night, but 70 people all laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between laughing and losing it.
Yes.
We know this.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you're making a show, people know it's meant to be funny, but it isn't yet, because you're not convincing with how you say it, or you've not phrased it right, or it's a bit too mean, and then they just laugh at the punchline. But I love it when they just can't help it. It's
that roll-on effect.
Yes.
Yeah. And when that's happening up front, and in the back of your mind thinking, wait until we get to the punchline.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I've got someone else to take you.
Yeah.
And it was my favourite. I think we all do. The favourite bit for the end of the show, so you always know you've got something really fucking great.
I know. I was looking forward to that last night when you said, look, we've got to wrap this up shortly, so I'm going to leave you with this. I'm like, here we go.
Yes. Let's bring this baby home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what year did you start doing, what was your first time walking on stage?
I'm not good at facts.
Okay.
So we need my husband for that, really. I'm
All
words, not numbers. But I would say probably 2010.
Okay.
It always amazes me when comics do this post at the end of something. We've done 62 years in comedy and I've done 400 gigs this year and I've, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how many I've done this week. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was about 2010.
But you notice the comics that do work all the time and don't really know how many gigs they've done it. But it's the comics that haven't been doing it for this amount of time. Just do it, man.
Yes.
It's all good. It's all good. We've all been doing it a while.
So yeah, probably about 13 or 14 years now.
Great.
And
what was the catalyst for you? Because how many?
Me being a good old bitch in a toilet. So I went to watch a comedy night that was awful. It was like a hostage situation. It was like...
Was it like an open mic night or was it
Yes, but I didn't understand there was such a thing as an open mic.
Right.
I thought I'd gone to a pro night.
Right.
And it was majority young blokes talking about getting stoned with the promoter. Okay. Now, I don't know the promoter and I didn't get stoned. So I'm like, I couldn't really connect with...
Sure.
It was very much like a little club that was just laughing about each other.
Right.
They were playing to what we call playing to the back of the room. So they were playing to their mates.
Yeah.
So I was in the toilets just having a good old shouting across the toilet door to the person I've never met. I was just there on my own. Mm-hmm. And I was going, how bad is this? I can't leave. I can't take my eyes off it.
It's like a train
wreck. It's awful. I'm really enjoying the uncomfortable feeling of watching them believe they're great. Blah, blah, blah. What a horrible thing to say. I didn't know about open mic. But yeah, I was just horrible about it. And then the person that came out of the toilets was a woman called Karen Hyland, who was a massive patron of the arts. She's died now. But yeah, she was massive. She would be at every open mic, everybody's first fringe show. Right. So she came out and she was like, oh yeah, but if you stick with comedy, keep watching it. It's like sport. There'll be good matches, bad matches. And then she said, would you like to do comedy? Because I'd pointed out, there's not many women in this, is there? Yeah. She was like, would you like to do it?
And your comments over the toilet were pretty good. So.
Yes. So she was like, well, would you like me to introduce you to the promoter? Did, and I was like, I'll get up and do it. And he said, that's not how it works. I thought it was like karaoke. I didn't know people practiced.
Right. And that they come up with an idea in mind of what they're going to be
I had no idea how much people overthunk this.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I literally said, I'll go up and do it. He said, no, but come back next week with 3 minutes. Which I did, which I didn't think much about either. I literally just went and...
And was it nursing based when you got up?
Yeah, it was really... Yeah, it was very nursing based. I think I turned the hospital into like a game show or something and just started talking about playing buckaroo with people when we wake them up from, heroin overdoses. And we'll give them Narcan and they're like throwing stuff everywhere. And that's probably something I wouldn't say now.
Yeah,
I've phased out talking about anything to do with addiction or anything that I've no really good experience of. I've not really done any of them, so I can't talk about it. So but that was the first gig, and that's when I felt the laughs. And everybody came from the hospital because it was midweek. But I just going, I'm doing comedy. And they were like, yeah, we'll come.
Great.
So it was like a full packed room.
So you had your crowd, right
from the beginning.
Right, they're gonna. But one thing I noticed last night, I'm not from a nursing background or a medical background, but it's still relatable. It's like whether you're from that or not. It's still,
you watch ER, don't you? You watch ER. Yeah. You don't have to be a doctor to watch ER.
We've all been in a hospital before. Yeah, we've seen nurses.
I'm not asking you to do the nursing. It's just literally telling you the vibe of it's staff room banter.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to listen?
Sure.
To staff room, we've built a beautiful new hospital here in Adelaide.
Yes.
And they overthunk that really. They've given them glass staff rooms so that people can see people eating their dinner and having a cry probably.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Sure. It's like, at least frosted glass.
Literally,
come on.
if somebody can lip read, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Because things you can't watch us talking in the staff room. This is the closest you'll get to being in the staff room on a night shift. Is being in my show.
Yeah. And I'm watching last night. You got a packed 500 plus venue that you're in, and you're selling out each night. It's like, how many nurses are there out there? Are there that
We are the biggest workforce in any nation. We are
So when you go to do the London Palladium, or you're
Yeah.
doing major theatres in the
Like,
UK,
yeah.
that's
I've not. So yeah, I genuinely, and it's the best audience. I call them. So if you are someone who follows my comedy, I call you that. It sounds like a horrible word, but when I explain it, you love it. The heifers. My audience, they are just this big pack animal. There's like herds of them. Yeah. And they're beautiful, but cows are beautiful, but not like Instagram beautiful. Like they're just beautiful, wholesome, entirely useful people.
Yeah.
Who come out and are just kind and ready to enjoy it. So yeah, that's why I call them the heifers. But if you think of each city that I go to, the word of mouth in nurses is better than any other, because they'll have 4 big towers called hospitals, 4 big towers of wards. There'll be floor 2 to floor 14 will be north, south, east and west wings. So there's 4. Right. So there's all these things, and every day thousands of staff come in and thousands of staff leave 3 times a day, and it's different staff all chatting. So yes. so if you're loved by nurses,
you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get that stain out. It's there. They
That's
just
great.
love
That's
it.
fantastic.
They share things, and we're like a little army as well. So most nurses who've done it about 10 or 12 years will have something entirely outside of nursing, a big identity outside of nursing, like they might make their own candles or breed cockatoos or whatever. And if they do that, every nurse will buy that candle.
So it's a supportive group.
It's really good. But I hold myself to, I want the show to be good outside of that.
Right, yes.
I don't want to, I literally, I'm so grateful that they come, that I just want it to be the best.
Yeah. No, that's great. And also, too, seeing them, like, you don't see 1 or 2, they come in groups, too.
Yeah.
Like last night, like I was seeing groups coming in together, all talking.
Out.
Yeah.
Ward night out, yeah.
And now going back to the UK, like how long was it until you went back to the UK? And because you're originally from Manchester.
Yeah,
right?
Manchester born, moved out here 2009, I reckon, and then never did comedy in England.
Right.
And then I was like, I need to go back there. Like, it was just a goal I made for myself one year, and then obviously COVID. I don't know if it affected anyone else, but it just really pissed on that plan for a while.
Sure.
Tried to get some attention in the UK, couldn't. Did Britain's Got Talent, got attention.
Fantastic.
Got the tour, got the eyeballs. I loved it. I loved the whole experience.
Yeah, how was that process going through? Because we know with these reality shows, sometimes it can be very...
Yeah, and within the comedy community, I think people are too proud to do it, or they're very snobby about it, or you got to remember you're not making a comedy show, you're making a TV show.
Right.
So people will say within the comedy community, you're not allowed to do comedy on there, not proper comedy. I would kind of agree. I'm not saying that isn't true, but it's the purpose that it serves in getting the eyeballs.
Exposure.
And getting a quote from Simon Cowell and just the experience of doing it.
Right.
And so everybody who goes on there, and it's not just comedians, you've only got 2 minutes, 40 seconds to do comedy. So if you imagine you're a singer, you can do things in 2 minutes 40. If you're a dancer, you can. But if you are a magician or a comedian, you can't.
Yeah.
So you just have to trust them, because they make a good program, and just let them tell you. They don't write your jokes. It's your jokes. They've watched you online. They've been to see you. And then they craft that into something
that will work.
That will work for that
context.
format.
Yeah.
So in comedy, you would end on your funniest joke. Whereas with me, it was more of a sentiment they wanted me to end with. Something about being fat and happy. I don't know. But I was like, yeah, I get it.
Okay, yeah.
We'll do this then.
But that's great that you went in there with that game plan, knowing, all right, I can give myself over to this format and know how to play it for my advantage, as opposed to going in with an artistic kind of, no, this is the joke and this is how it stands.
No, just in my head, I think the little mantra all the way through was, this is so far out of my control, Britain's Got Talent, what he's said, what he's done. I know that I like the programme before I go into it, but the mantra in my head was, you're no better or worse no matter what happens here. And you still like what you make.
Yeah,
so just keep making what you make, better, no worse. Just let that happen. I don't think it'll damage what I've got here.
Yeah.
And when you see the other performers as well, because you get to live in a big hotel full of the other cannon fodder. Sure. So you've got a little depressed Welshman's choir. You've got a a tiny Korean dance troupe. And they're all doing things they've never done before. Because the dance troupe, they've never thrown a small boy in the air. But for TV, we need you to throw a small boy in the air.
Kid.
Yeah, we suddenly need you to have a small boy in there, and they've got to be very cute, and we need you to throw them as high as you can.
Right.
So yeah, that is.
Everyone's out of their comfort zone.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
But in terms of doing that, like you go over there and now you're going back selling out theatres, like
Yes.
major theatres
Yes.
all over the country.
Yes.
Like that's a big, and
Yes.
then also having that initial thing, they come and see you and go, oh wow, this is what it's like
Yes.
live. This is, so it's, it's work. You were able to plan that out to work to your advantage.
Yes,
And
strategy.
once they come and see the show, they're going to see that you are so much more than the confines of what you were on that show.
That's
as well.
it. I reckon any opportunity you have in the arts, I reckon you can get cash, joy, exposure, or getting better. There's only those 4 things. And so out of Britain's Got Talent, you don't get paid.
No, but the exposure is...
The exposure's off the charts. You do get better in a weird way. You get TV savvy or something because
Right.
I don't know. You get to understand a little bit. What did I understand from it? I understood. Yeah, how to really sell something that I knew wasn't stand up on stage.
Right.
So that might come in useful one day in terms of radio.
Right.
Where you're not saying what your funniest bit is, you're saying whatever they really want you to say.
Right. So you're
know,
fitting
or-
you within the confines of what...
Yeah, like
of
making
that
sure I
medium.
can really sell it well, whatever
Yeah.
it is that I've got to do.
Sure.
Because I don't do that with my stand-up on stage in my show, I'll just be me.
Sure.
So yeah,
Sure.
so you learn something.
But what a meteoric, though, rise in the UK, though, to go and do that and then come back
Sold out the whole tour, we've got another one coming up.
It's fantastic.
I'm looking at America.
Yeah. Wow. America's Got Talent.
I'm
there you go.
terrified of America.
Why?
You list 4 reasons not to be terrified of America. Have you been? I've
I
not
lived
been.
there, yeah.
You lived there?
I moved there when I left school and tour managed a comedian magician, the amazing Jonathan, and he was like this crazed...
Was that his stage name?
Yeah.
The Amazing Jonathan.
This crazed drug-taking, just force of nature. Like
Yeah.
he... And he's... It's interesting because like a lot of like sort of comedy magicians or prop comics or whatever don't get like, you know, the respect in the industry. But Jonathan was the rarity. Like he would like George Carlin loved him,
Right.
Bill Burr, Bill
People,
Hicks,
right.
all these comics like they all, you know, loved Jonathan. But yeah, so I saw the ins and outs of that country and you know, traveling, touring too. It's a different kind of insight. you
Maybe
know.
I just hooked into the wrong thing on my reels or whatever, but I just... everything I say, I don't think I'm street smart enough.
Oh, you mean in general going over or doing gigs over there?
Gigs are fine. Gigs are gigs, aren't they?
You mean
I
getting
would
from the
gig,
hotel to the gig?
I would
you-
gig in blooming Gaza right now. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I would
yeah.
gig anywhere in terms of
So you're-
every room. I want to do every room.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's more like just being around and guns. Just not, obviously not a fan, and I do
yeah,
think,
sure.
and I imagine they're everywhere. It would make me nervous to see somebody walking
Sure.
down the street with one on their hip.
Yeah,
It would upset me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all of the stuff to do with women's rights at the moment, as I see it, women's healthcare rights, I just can't.
But that's why they
I
need...
can't support a country that's doing that.
But that's where they need someone like you to go over
Yeah, I
there
know.
and counter that, the yin and yang. You
I know how to be useful in that. I don't know how to be useful in that.
There was Anna Devere Smith. She's this great. She does one-woman plays.
Right.
She's fantastic. She's from the States, and she did a show about the healthcare system in America.
Yeah.
But she plays characters like. All different, like she goes and interviews people, right?
Yeah.
And this is what her shows are like. She goes and interviews all different people, and then she plays them on stage.
Right.
You know what their insights are into it. But this was like a one-woman kind of Broadway kind of play. But you know, she was tackling the injustice of the healthcare
You've
system.
seen my
over
show.
there.
I'd like. Well, I am incredibly sure-footed that I do the right thing within 30 kilometres of myself.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the world outside of that. I know enough to know what's kind of going on, but I don't feel me debating it or educating on it or anything like
Sure.
that. I'm like, the people in front of me, I'm very good to them.
Sure. But I guess my point of that is she's tackling these big kind of things. But you're coming in from a different angle, right?
Yes.
With that, you're coming from a relatable. So the nurses and the people in the medical industry that come out to see you, I see that totally working in the States.
Yeah. No, I know the shows would work. I don't know. I like look at it and I think, well, there's 22 million people around that in Australia, isn't there? And then there's about 70 million in England. And I sell traditionally 3 times as many tickets in England.
Right.
And then America, what's that? 500 million?
Forget about it.
300 million? Something like that. There's like so many tickets.
I think they've lost count of how many people are in that country.
They've stopped counting now, have they? Well, they're going to have a few more, aren't they?
Yeah. Very much so.
Give it about 9 months or about 5 months now. They're going to have a lot more people.
Yeah. But it's I love the American crowds over there too. It's
Cool.
like this is how I always see it. Before you take the stage, they have an invested interest in you doing well. They're excited.
Nice.
We're here for a night of comedy. Whereas, and I love Australian audiences, but Australian audience out of the bat are a little bit more like, oh yeah,
Okay,
this
show me
one
your
thing.
tricks.
Yes, let's see what you got. All right, we're there with you.
Right.
But you got to do that initial winning over. In America, I always find when I hit the stage, it's like you hit the stage running. You know, it's like
Right.
out of the gate.
I've got to do it at some point.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a 2020. Me and my boss have talked about it a few times.
Yeah. You and your boss?
Me and my boss, yeah. Me and my boss. I think he's one of your bosses as well. Yeah, we talk about it.
Nice.
And we've started planting content over there just so if I do go over, some people have heard of me already.
Well, come on, you've conquered Australia, you've conquered the UK.
Yeah.
The next.
I'd love to do India as well. That's got a huge healthcare workforce.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of people.
Yeah. They do. They have a fair more people than all these other countries.
Why am I
mentioned.
shitting numbers? But I know this. I don't know how old I am, but 1.3 billion, I think it is.
And then next, learn Mandarin. You're set in China.
I'll always be doing it in English, mate. I'll always be doing it in English.
You're not doing an Eddie Izzard where like, I can learn that language. I can get that down.
No, I won't be doing that. Nah.
I think, because, like you look at what you did in the UK with doing if you did America's Got Talent, you went over there. Like, that would be a great way to get into.
Not gonna lie, can't say I haven't asked, not been accepted.
Huh.
So that's all right too.
And this is after you doing UK?
Yeah. So, but I absolutely take that as no, not liking my talent or any of that. They were so lovely to me and they so backed me and supported me in everything I did. They're making a team. They're building a team. If there's another nurse who's better at juggling or whatever my backstory was, I imagine it was nursing COVID.
Yes,
if there's another one who does something very different, that's more visual. Because stand-up isn't actually the finest thing on there, if we're honest. There's so many more joyful things on there than the stand-up. It's not where stand-up shines.
Sure. But you made a good point too. The backstory is so important on those shows too.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be cancer. Everyone's like, because I have the most blessed life, Joel. I cannot tell you how lucky I've been all the way through. Nothing bad's happened yet. I am waiting for it.
And having been surrounded by that in work and seeing that.
And I've always believed myself and believed in myself and seeing it work, just that you only live once, I just try and cram everything in. I just have a really lucky life. But if you watch those talent programs, the strongest one that will get everyone in tears every time is a father who has worked down the pit forever and played the guitar in his bedroom, but now his kids are growing up, he wants to show them they can be anything they want to be.
There you go.
That's it. That is oh my God, that is the backstory,
Well, then pitch that to America.
No, like I thought mine would have been nursing COVID, but I think the two they went with possibly. They don't overtly tell you, but you can tell by the way they edit things and, what they want the programme to be and what demographic they're trying to hit. So mine was a mum that backs herself, that you can still go out there even if you've got kids, mums. I'm pretty sure that was one of them. And the other one would be fat and happy about it. So, they were the two that they went with. So I'm still happy with everything they did.
Well, you make a good point there when you say being a mum. Like back when you started this in 2010, you had a great career in nursing, supportive husband, 2 kids, and to make that jump to doing comedy.
If we're saying it was a jump, it was more like, you know, when you see one of them people trying to get off the high diving board and they just can't do it. And they just keep getting to the edge and going,
yeah. And eventually, all right, just do it.
It was like that.
Yeah.
I literally kept getting so close to the edge. I was earning far more at comedy than I did at nursing, all of that.
Okay.
Couldn't get my head around what the income of this is. In terms of the longevity of it, or even if I'd make as much next year. And it took me probably 5 years of earning consistently more at this than nursing.
To have the faith.
Right. and be like, but there's no pension, but there's no this, there's no that, and you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
But and your husband Stephen, like he must have been like, you know, this sort of bedrock for you to make that jump, I would imagine.
Oh yeah,
right?
he's right. He's great. He'll never listen to this, so let's just be frank about this.
Go on.
Right.
Go on.
He absolutely so proud of me, so backs this, so everything. Does love to whinge about it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
God, I mean, like my mates, because I'd be away, and it's only simple things. He's taking his own kids to sport.
Yeah.
Right, but normally there's two of you running him around, and I understand that he had the majority of the executive function in the family.
Right.
And but then when he gets to football, he'd be like, I'm telling all the women, so I got up this morning, I did the shop, I took the shop home, and then I put the shopping away, and then I put a wash on, and then I pegged that out. You don't need to name every single thing you did. Like, just, shopping, washing, here, you know, like,
for the specifics.
Yeah, so the women would they would be impressed with him, but at the same time a bit like, oh, get over it, mate. We're all doing it.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
It's just what happens. And more than outside that, he had to put himself last. You have to be very focused, I think, and very selfish. And I don't always think that's a bad word. You have to be very selfish to do the career I have. Mm-hmm. And you have. Mm-hmm. You have to. It has to come certainly in your top 3 all the time. Mm-hmm. It has to be in your top 3 most important things
to make it work.
And it's certainly in the creative phase of creating a show, probably number 1.
Yes. Yeah, you need that
You're
focus,
not going
that attention, that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And comedy plans quite far ahead. My husband, prior to this, when we were nursing and he's in accounts, he loves following the cricket, touring around with cricket, goes to Sri Lanka, goes to the Ashes, goes on.
Okay.
He has not been able to do that for like a decade because I've always had a gig planned.
Sure.
So now he's going to New Zealand at the end of this year. Now the kids are growing up, we can do it again.
Yeah, I was going to say that now the kids are growing up.
And we can afford it, no worries now, whereas we used to have to really sort of
plan it all out and think, all right, if we do this and we
I'd
can't
be like,
do that.
well, if I do a month of nights, then we'll have money for you to go do that. And
yeah, it's a good incentive.
Yes.
It's like, look, you want to go and see this team?
Yes. Yeah. So he gets to. It's taken me a bit to convince him that he has to go out and do that again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he's got very comfy in this.
The home life and the routine of
Yeah.
But it's great to have, you know, because that is like, you know, when comics are starting off in their 20s, whatever, there are no real attachments. So it's like, whatever, you know, but when you have, you know, you're set up with a family.
Well, we were equal earners, Like at me not earning, there was a good 2 years where where it cost us to do comedy. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't really afford for it to do that, but we just had to, because what else are you going to do?
Sure. And it is that great unknown too, like, can I make a living out of this? Can I make, like...
Yes.
But for me, even when I was, you know, younger, when I worked in the States and I was working for Amazing Jonathan and coming out, like, and I was making good money for my age.
I'm glad you said Amazing Jonathan was good at his job, because it is the worst name if you're not.
Right.
Like when he was an amateur at what he did and he was calling himself Amazing Jonathan.
The adequate Jonathan.
Yes, it's just.
But I do understand that initial when you got something good going and then you walk away from that in order to do comedy. It is a daunting, and especially too when you go like, can I make a living out of this? You don't, you know, to make that step. But then for you, it's tenfold because you have a family as well, and you know, it's a big decision to
It's been worth it.
Oh,
it might have not been worth it, but it has been worth it.
Yeah. But at the time, though, you know, that uncertainty. But what's the alternative to that?
I kind of got lucky with just getting illness out of nursing. So I needed knee replacements. So I went off on sick with that to get the knee replacements.
Right.
I've got like right, here we go. I don't know if I've never been diagnosed with it, but I've diagnosed myself with it, which is what we do now. We Google it.
Everyone's an expert. Yes.
So I reckon I've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, right? Which is like hyperbendy.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, and so I locked my knees backwards forever, so I've worn them away at the front. So, yeah.
Was that not diagnosed when you went in to have them checked?
No, we just went with I'm too fat, which was also a thing, but fatter people don't have this happen and don't wear away in the same spot.
Right.
So, and even, but then you lose weight and it still hurts because you can't grow back cartilage.
Right.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So I needed that happening. I couldn't stay on my feet all day. I'd moved into positions in nursing where you didn't have to be on your feet all day.
Okay.
Then went off with the thing, and it just so happened that comedy could work with the post-op complications, but nursing couldn't. And then I was like, oh well, we'll just carry on doing this then.
Great.
Because this.
So it was rather than just a cut-off, it was more of a natural.
I probably
that.
did both together for about 2 years too long, and I let the ball drop on the family. You know, it is a bit of a joke. You know, like my life's so full. I got comedy, I've got nursing, I got the kids. So something had to go, and it was the kids, and it was the kids. Like I literally was never around.
For that couple of years, or
yeah, for that couple of years, I was just always somewhere else.
And did they ever say anything, or did Stephen?
No, I mean it's a common thing that I'm not here. Yeah. It's a common sentence in this. Oh, you're never here, and I'm like, I know, I am working. I am actually out of the house, less hours than Dad is at work.
Yeah. Who just gave you a new car?
Yeah,
Come on.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a very common thing.
Yeah. But to have that understanding too.
Like, I admit it. That's happened. I do not regret it.
Yeah.
I do regret, because Melbourne Comedy falls on Robbie's birthday, and I missed too many of his birthdays. And in hindsight, why didn't you just have the night off, fly home?
Festival, yeah.
But to me, it was always more important to be at the festival. I was like, it's a trade fair. And he always said it was all right. But
did they ever come in?
That was one conversation we'd have where I knew I was gaslighting or selling him a lie. Do you know, when I'd be like, well, you know, because if it was your footy grand final and it was Mother's Day, I wouldn't say we had to go do Mother's Day. You know, like, and I look back and it was like, because I'm very, very honest with my kids, and that was one where I was thinking, nah, I was just manipulating you there. Yeah. That horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, but now he's into comedy.
Well, he works at the Fringe. They love it.
So,
and it's his 18th this year, and I've taken the whole month off. And he's like, it's my 18th. I don't need you at my 18th.
Now beyond
like
that.
You're actually, it's worse if you're there now. Yeah. He hasn't said that, but you know, no one wants their mum at their 18th, do they? So.
But did they ever go on the road with you or come out to the festivals?
Yeah, a couple of times. So like I say, it needs a lot of focus, this. I've done it a couple of times where I've taken them, but it was never really a holiday for them.
Right. Well,
and I get that.
Yeah, well, you're working too.
I mean, they had some great experiences. Fabulous promoter, I won't give the name, but he is a fabulous guy. So I took him to a fabulous place in Australia, wherever you know, just imagine that. I can't tell you the place, otherwise everyone would work out who the promoter is. Right. Anyway, the kids lived with him when they were upper primary, and this guy, he was in his 30s, no kids, no wife, 2 sausage dogs, one played soccer, one played frisbee. Every virtual reality headset.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All of this going on everywhere. He had McDonald's for breakfast and Zupa Dupas for dinner. And my kids.
He's a big kid.
And his flatmate was a trained assassin that didn't kill people. So, you know, one of them that I do martial arts to the level that I could kill a man with just one blow. But he didn't. Yeah. You know, like, and I reckon my kids came back from that trip forever changed.
Right.
Forever changed. Tom on the airplane on the way back was just like, I don't have to get married. I was like, no, there are adults out there that aren't married. Yeah. You don't have to have kids. I'm like, no, you don't have to.
There you go, you know.
It just never dawned on him that you didn't have to do all these things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's great then. You've exposed them to all these other ways of life.
Yes.
And,
And certainly in festivals, they've met all kinds of everybody that they wouldn't have encountered otherwise. And I noticed a marked difference between them and their fabulous mates, and all of their mates are gorgeous, but in terms of how they understand somebody who's transgender, or somebody who's a little person, or somebody who, like all of these things that my kids have just grown up around.
Yeah, sure.
And know it's just people, mate.
Yes.
Whereas the conversation's very different. And so my two go to the artist bar, but I said, why haven't you brought your mates? And they're like, no. They would not deal with this well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah, because we just accept whatever. It's like from doing all these festivals for so many years.
I know.
It's like it's no different. It's
my conversation around my mates, because you watch shows and hear a person's story of what they've lived through being a certain way, or having a condition, or coming from a certain country, or whatever it is. Yeah, and then when you're chatting with your mates, sometimes I just have to keep it stum.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's what's good about doing the Adelaide Fringe, like as opposed to the Melbourne Festival. Like the Melbourne Festival as well, but the Adelaide Fringe, I find you get a lot different walk of life.
It's huge for accessibility.
Like the broad, from the kind of circus performers to just within that realm, what they have, from acrobats to people covered with tattoos to people, identifying as whatever they want to identify as.
Exactly.
It's such a broad, it's such a broad mix.
True open
at this
access festival.
Yeah. It's but it's funny in Melbourne. Like I would always hear comics say, like here in Adelaide, it's more of a communal kind of atmosphere, and in Melbourne it's like that too, but it's more business in Melbourne.
It's a trade fair.
Yeah, it's more like people have their agenda going, whereas in Adelaide it's like, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you.
It's a party. A party. Adelaide Fringe is a party. My son, my eldest, is going to go and work Melbourne Comedy Festival this time, and I was explaining to him, I have based him in the party centre, which is the Exford. So he's staying in that youth hostel with all the fantastic working comics. Massive talent, not mad profile comics, just funnier than all of us. You wonder how this happens.
Yeah.
So he'll be living in the Exford with them, but I'm like, it's not Adelaide Fringe, mate, it is.
Yeah, it's...
don't show me up. Here, show me up.
Represent.
Here, mess up as much as you like, it'll be a good story. Melbourne, seriously.
Yeah.
Keep it tidy.
And how did you find going, because you did Edinburgh as well.
So lonely.
Really?
So lonely. Oh God, don't even make me think about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So again, selling not an issue. Love the show. The show was a nice bit of the day.
But off stage.
So lonely. I did not find my crew.
Yeah.
I'd just bump into groups of people all enjoying each other, but not quite be in it.
Right.
And
were you there for the whole run too?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long,
It's a lot.
That's a long haul. Well, what about people like, Jamoan would have been over there? You're running.
No, I don't think he was.
Oh, really?
Umbilicals were there. They were gorgeous, inviting me to shows. But they're brothers. They've got each other.
Yeah.
You're always on the outside. They don't want you to be on the outside. They're very welcoming, but it is just like, it's a thought. They've had to think, we've got to invite Georgie. So
it's funny you say, because Akmal felt the same years ago when he was over
Did
there.
he?
Yeah.
See, and he's lovely to hang out with. So I know it wasn't just that, but it was. Everybody had their own little thing going on.
Right.
Yes.
And was that the first?
Anyway, I'm going back this year.
Yeah. Well, who you got going? Do you know people that are going?
Yeah, I'm living in MILF Mansion. Get it?
Oh, okay.
So I found a troupe of women about my age, and they're anyone from comics to door persons, or women about my age who...
You've got your community
MILF Mansion. Yeah, we're just trying to work it out now, just trying to get somewhere together.
Yeah.
And we're not sure if we all want to live together or if we want to have a few twos.
Yeah, right.
But it will definitely be a more... I hate the idea of coming home and no one knows if I've been run over or not.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hate it.
It's like those, when you read those stories, like, they found her 14 days later.
Yes!
None of his friends even knew.
Yeah.
All of his, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, and I got such a busy house, people just always in this house.
Yes, yeah. That contrast, yeah. But it is interesting though. I find that on the road too, you're on tour somewhere and you're on stage and it's great, and then jump cut to you sitting on the edge of your bed in your hotel room, just silence.
Yes.
There is that real contrast to what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But So growing up in Manchester, you would have been like with the music scene back in the day,
Yeah, the Happy Mondays.
Happy
On the
Mondays.
seventh day, God created Manchester. That was yeah, and the Hacienda. So I was house music.
Hacienda, yeah, Oasis.
I supported Oasis. Get that just once.
Really?
Before they were huge, so they would have
What?
been like on the circuit, doing all right. So they were a whole university, and yes.
But how do you mean you supported them?
So I was in a band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had several names. It was called Cherry, it was called Smoke, and then it was called Solid Groove Connection. And we did kind of brand new heavies kind of stuff. Our originals.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, supported them. And
Really?
Fatboy Slim, we supported Fatboy Slim.
Wow.
Supported The Roots.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Man, so what year would this? This was like 90.
I'd have been 19 and I was born in 75, so
Okay.
95, 94.
Yeah, yeah.
That
so,
kind of-
so that would have been before Oasis broke through, like, if you're supporting them back then, like...
Yes.
Well, yeah, they would have been, like, shopping their demo around and,
Yes.
Wow.
They were all right.
Yeah, yeah. That's all. I loved it. I still do love Oasis. Yeah. Just like for what they. I think they were the last of the real rock and roll bands. It's like the rock and roll bands. Like I don't know. I can't find them now. Coming through.
Maybe because you've aged out of it a little bit.
Maybe. But
maybe.
But I don't like like when they came through. It's like this is a rock band. The attitude off stage, the music,
I'm trying to think if there is one.
Would
the Foo Fighters have been after them?
Yeah.
They're pretty fucking big and great.
Yeah.
And you're not counting Coldplay, are you?
I said rock and roll band.
I know, but I don't quite know what they are.
Yeah. I loved the Coldplay's. Like, I hate being one of these people, but their first album, Parachutes, Russia Blood
You're
to the Head.
being one of them people.
Russia Blood to the Head. But I remember once, I forget what album it was, buying it, and I just thought, I think I got to check out here.
Right.
It just didn't speak to me anymore.
I've given up on albums. I just buy songs now.
Oh yeah.
I used to be mad for the album.
Who buys an album anymore? Really? I get albums, but the great thing I loved about albums is you would discover songs on it that you didn't initially get the album for, and then they would become your favorite songs. Remember, like you would hear a song on an album that would attract you to it, but then there was all this other gold.
And the rest of it, yeah. I think I don't know if it's like a hyperactive thing or what, but I don't know if I'd have the patience to just sit and listen to an album.
Right.
Like we know, I don't. Well, this is a podcast about your favourite book, your favourite record, your favourite. And I have not read a book in forever. I've written a book. I have not read it.
Yes.
Like I literally don't have the patience for.
Even audiobooks, like if you're on a long drive on
No,
tour,
my friends have tried to talk me into it, and my tour manager loves an audiobook, but she loves a self-help book. And
So
I feel like I don't need any help.
Yeah.
Like, everyone could be better, but I don't need to spend hours improving myself.
Yeah, and
Or there'd be other places I could start.
I think there need to be self-help books for people that listen to self-help books.
Yes, that would do.
It's like there's a whole, I don't know, the whole,
So but an album to sit and listen to it. Like I said, you should have Dilruk Jaisinger on your podcast. He can talk you through every emotion that Beyonce had when she made Lemonade.
You're right.
He knows he was with her.
He gets deep.
He was in the 8 and he can just sit and listen and decipher it.
Well, speaking of an album,
Yes.
a favourite album that you have picked.
You made me pick.
Yes.
You said pick something.
None other than
Phil Collins.
No Jacket Required. Look at that. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. It is a classic of 80s albums.
Yeah.
Like this album I remember clearly as a kid. It was such a prominent.
I don't know. It's just where my head went first. I know I listened to it on repeat. Mm-hmm.
And you would listen to it in its entirety.
And there was a 3 set that you bought at the same time. I can't think what the others were called, but this was the one that I just listened to over and over again, and I was besotted with him. It's a really weird crush, that, innit, when you're a kid. Phil Collins. I mean, who else did we have in the 80s that I could have fancied?
Billy Joel.
I think it
if you're going for
if I
shorter,
think about
balding
my peers,
guys.
maybe George Michael. We didn't know that he wouldn't reciprocate yet. But yeah, it was.
Springsteen. He was huge in the 80s.
I don't think we'd ever fight over the same men. But yeah, Phil Collins was my first crush.
That was him. But Phil, like, he was so prominent. Like, you know, I remember as a kid sneaking in late at night when my brother would be watching Miami Vice, and there was always a Phil Collins song on that show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they would do, like, I remember the first pilot episode of Miami Vice, and they're driving in the car, and this is the first time I'd ever seen this on TV, where they did the whole song In the Air Tonight, and it was like a video clip for that song.
Yes.
And they're just driving in the car, silent. And then just went as a dun 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 dun
Yes.
dun, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
I just loved him. I liked him in interviews. I can't even remember why. I just liked the whole entity of him. And even now, we talked about backstories before. I have to know everything about him to love him. So I love Britney.
Right.
Tedious. I find Pink tedious.
But
him, he just everything he did just seemed great, and film he was in, and then he cheated on his wife, Joel.
And how did he get divorced? How did he announce the divorce?
I can't remember.
He sent a fax.
Oh.
I remember when I was younger hearing that, and that was like a big thing, like in the press when I was younger.
Well, I went through this real projecting phase, so I had this on repeat. Studying for my exams, just on repeat. And then he cheated at the same time as my dad cheated. Oh. And I didn't fall out with my dad, but I made it very clear. It was so transparent to my dad, but I was like, I think what Phil's done is horrendous.
Right.
But I would never say it about my dad.
Yes,
I just totally like,
nice way.
How do you do that to a family? How does he do that?
Dad, you're fine, but Phil.
But Phil, and I made it all about Phil Collins. I lectured my dad. I stopped listening to it.
Well, thank you, Phil. Oh, really? You were done
Stopped
with
listening
Phil?
to it when I did, on the run up this morning to doing this. I've been listening. I couldn't listen to the whole album. I got it on Spotify. Just listen to the first 30 seconds of each one because I don't have the patience
to go through it all.
And then there's a song on there called "Why Doesn't Anybody Stay Together Any Longer?" Yeah. Well, because they cheat and then they fax.
Now, did you, after this happened with Phil Collins, was that around the time that you stopped listening to full albums?
Probably, yeah. This is a wound.
So Phil...
Do you know, just thinking about it, if somebody finished with you nowadays by a fax, that would be quite a compliment, wouldn't it? Like the amount of effort they would have had to go to.
They would never know. I sent the fax last Thursday. Who's sending fax? Consider it the divorce then.
Yeah, it would be so thoughtful. Because it'd be like they went and got a fax.
Oh, how do you carry a pigeon?
They don't even have them at Office Works.
You send a carrier pigeon. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
It was a dove.
Yeah. So go on. You're back in, Phil.
So I think we're getting somewhere with this. So after Phil broke it off, that was when
Life
you
just
kind of
got
broke it
busy.
off.
Life just got busy, and I hate to be that person because I know lots of people who don't have children who are also busy. I know it's not the only thing you can be busy with.
And when you're on tour on a long drive, you can listen to an album. It's like, huh?
No.
Like you
even a whole song. I skipped. I get to a bit of liking a song and then I skip to the next.
If Phil
song.
hadn't ruined it for you, you could still listen to a full album.
There's this one. There's another one that was on the repeat as well. Garfunkel, Simon and
Garfunkel. Yeah.
So not the pair of them. There was one of them. I think it was Simon.
Art Garfunkel.
Which one did it with the big kind of Soweto choir? Diamonds on the soles of a shoe.
Yeah. We're going to Graceland.
That between the two of them, that was the things that I had on repeat. Right. You bought me a record. I've got no record player. I feel like.
But look, you have forever the red, hot, sweaty image.
Yes.
Look at those eyes.
That's quite the choice. He smacks of, and you might not know him, you lot, but one of the funniest comics of all time, Mickey D. He's got a Mickey D vibe about him there, I reckon.
You're right. That's so true. And also the hint of mohawk.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a Mickey D going on there.
That's great.
Yeah.
I saw Mickey. I hadn't seen Mickey in ages. I always love running into Mickey.
He's just my favourite thing in the world. And
great.
Probably the reason I do what I do. So he was my biggest backer from the beginning, right from the first open mic.
Was he the promoter of the gig that you were at when you first saw the...
No, it wasn't him.
It
wasn't
one of his
him.
rooms.
He wasn't at that then. I think he was in England.
Okay.
Meeting his wife. And then, as soon as he saw me, and he said loads of just things that have stuck with me. Why not you? Why not you, George? Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Doubt the doubt. That was others of his. There are no rules. Yeah, just loads of things
But
he
you know
said.
what? I think that's what makes you a good comic too, having those thoughts as well that come up. You know, like
I don't think they help.
No, I think they do. I think because I think all the best comics have that.
Yeah, but you got to knock them out of there.
Of course, you got to get over it and you got to move on. But there is always that in the back. I think the comics that are so overly common and think that they're the greatest and that they're the best usually kind of mediocre.
Maybe,
you know, I think having that little bit of
Humble.
little questioning at times is what makes you good.
All right then.
Yeah, so I think, of course you don't want it to stop you from doing it. And when you're on stage, you've got to be
used to have to
confident,
do
you've got to
this
helm the
thing.
ship, you know.
It wasn't. I've always been excited to go on stage. Always, like, unless I'm writing something new, I really hate that phase. I really hate going out there and people have had a wash and they've paid, and you've got to practice rubbish on them. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I'm not excited. But the rest of the time, I feel like I'm about to kiss somebody really hot. I'm backstage and I'm just fizzing. I just love it. And then, and then when I'm doing those other gigs, the doubt is fairly huge, and it's almost like the diving board or the top of a ski run or whatever it is, and it's just like, you're going to do it, so just do it.
Yeah, sure, just jump in.
And I have to talk to this big lump here.
Yeah.
And I have to put it in a corner, and I have to be like, you are not invited to the gig. I made you up.
Yes.
It's a really weird process to go from, like, I made you up, so I'm taking you out. You sit over there, and I'm just going to go out there and be as brave as I can be.
But that's what I think makes you so great at what you do. You know,
Cheers.
It is. Like I said, I think it's the ones that go, oh yeah, I've got this out of the gates, and oh yeah, it's new stuff, got a whole new thing. Yeah, it's brilliant. Usually they're not like Richard Pryor. You know, arguably one of the greatest that have ever walked on stage. He said when asked, what is the process of creating a new show like for you? And he said, the closest I could think would be having my teeth pulled out without the anesthetic.
That is close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do I feel like it's like? Yeah, just, it's so uncomfortable and you have to embrace being uncomfortable. And that's what that process is. You're in the corner. They don't know what you wanted to say because you forget half of it the first time.
Right.
You know, it's just, I always imagine in my mind, when the show's built, I empty my head before I go on, and then it's like a big wardrobe, and don't matter what I want, I'll be able to find it immediately.
Sure.
And when you're writing it, it's just a big fuck off mess.
Yeah, you're in the fog.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of Phil Collins, what I just remember before when we were talking about the amazing Jonathan, he was...
Jonathan, can we call him, if he's still amazing, can we just call him Jonathan?
Jonathan.
I find it so weird.
He used to stay at this hotel in Sydney. It was called the Siebel Townhouse. Now, anyone in the entertainment industry used to stay at this hotel. It was like where Elton John had his wedding reception. Led Zeppelin would stay there. Michael Jackson, Billy Joel, the Bon Jovi in the 80s. They all, and Phil Collins was there. And Jonathan would stay there. And he was all about practical jokes, scaring the shit out of people. And he set up a camera up near the pool, and Phil was out there in the sunbathing, and he ran up behind Phil and scared the shit out of him on camera. Right. And then they struck up this friendship, chatting backwards and forwards. And
that's a weird way to make friends.
Right,
amazing, Jonathan.
Yeah. Jonathan was a weird...
I'm amazing, Jonathan.
Yes. I just scared the shit out of you. Yeah. In fact, there's... I'll send you the link to this documentary about Jonathan. I think you'll find it interesting.
I'd like that.
Yeah. It's and it features a story of Jonathan and I.
I will watch part of it probably, and then get distracted and do other things.
And then go, I got to listen to a part of a Phil Collins song.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to wander off and do something else. Yeah.
But this was interesting. Phil, because Jonathan had a long flight back to the States, and then Phil messaged him and said, "I've left something for you at the at reception," and there was an envelope there with Jonathan's name on it. And I opened it up, and he said, "Take one of these on the flight home. You'll have a great flight." And it was a Rehypnol. And Jonathan afterwards goes,
"This feels criminal."
And this was like this was like 30-something years
back
ago.
when it was fine, Spike.
Yeah, when no one knew.
Yeah.
But and Jonathan said, "I had the best flight. I was out cold." He goes, "I'd never taken one, thanks to Phil Collins." And then Jonathan couldn't take an international flight without doing that from then on.
So I had to Rehypnol himself to take flights.
Yeah, just to
I feel like you'd wake up in your own piss.
You would think, right?
I've never been Rehypnoled, but I've seen I think I've seen people.
You've been around enough to know.
I think I've seen people who have been. You know, people can be proven to be, but I've never been at that end of the results.
Jonathan had a plan where when he was ever taking an international flight, a long flight, he'd take it, half an hour before boarding the plane. So then he would hit the seat, bam, he's out for the whole flight, wake up.
Yeah.
But he took one, but the flight got delayed and then cancelled. And he'd taken the hit, so he's in the airport.
Oh, God, this is the start of a film.
Having to try to get moved to the next gate.
This is a National Lampoon spot.
Yeah. So
Cheaper than business class, isn't it? Just get yourself a Hypno.
Done. Well, he was always in business class anyway, though. So he was just, put it back, out of it, done.
Nice.
So thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil, for
Thank
that.
you, Phil.
So moving on from Phil, who is, your favourite...
Punch bag when my dad cheated, yeah.
Yes. And how are you with Phil now?
Yeah.
Have you forgiven
Always
Phil?
happy if I hear him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
I've forgiven him. Yeah. And because I had a Google, because I get a lot wrong, I just change stories over time. But I was pretty sure that one happened, so I thought, don't want to be saying he cheated in a podcast if he didn't. But then, so I had a Google.
Oh, yes,
I don't know if I just thought he did or it was my dad did, so I was making it about him. So and he's got everything about it says he wishes he hadn't, rather than, well, it happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was,
People do stuff.
But it didn't go with him and his image.
I think he wouldn't have done so badly out of it had my dad not been having a bit of a time as well. Well, it probably wasn't a problem I had with Phil, was it? Let's be honest.
I think we've discovered that Phil was the punching bag for
he's the reason
for your
me and my dad are still
infidelities.
good.
Yeah. Well, moving on from good old Phil, Mickey D, Phil.
Mickey D, yeah.
To your favourite film.
Most watched film, and
Most watched film.
I really struggled with this favourite thing,
right.
but I've asked all my mates, and they're all like, I don't know what my favourite anything is either. In fact, some of my favourite things, I don't even know what the film was called or who was in them.
Right.
I've just watched them once, and I was like, that was amazing. And then I'll just forever say to people, have you watched that film where the space people turn into the real people and the real people don't know yet, or whatever?
Right.
I just
what
don't.
film is this?
I don't know. But yeah, it's like I don't retain that kind of information, and I don't have to watch it again.
Right.
But Annie was absolutely on repeat.
So other than Annie, before we get into her, I just want to find out honourable mentions.
So this is films that I've loved. We're just going to get descriptions of things without titles.
Well, let's do a game here. Let's see if I can figure out what the film is.
South African film.
Hotel Rwanda.
No, and it was a space thing, and it was.
District 9.
Yeah. Yes. So like his arm turns into a lobster. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it'd be that.
Yeah.
That one, I just loved. I wouldn't have known how to found it again. Thank you. I just watched it. Was like, that was a bit of bonkers.
Yes.
I do like.
Hang on. Did that have? Who was in that?
I wouldn't know who's in anything. I wouldn't know any of the cast members from Annie. I just know the dog was called Sandy.
Right.
You know, like I just. So I don't know who was in it, but it was.
Yes.
It was just
District 9. Yes.
It was gripping. In terms of kids Disney stuff, I think the most gripping one, a bit like Mad Max type pace.
Right.
I think it was called El Rango or Rango.
Oh, Rango.
Yeah, this little lizard.
Yes.
He's a pet lizard that falls out when he's moving house. He falls out of his tank and ends up in the desert. And it
wasn't Johnny Depp the voice of Rango, I think.
Rango was the voice of Rango, in my opinion. I don't care who's behind it. It was whatever they're playing.
Yeah, and it was in the town, and the bad was coming. It was like a western kind of.
It is a relentlessly thrilling film.
Yes,
There's not one second where he's not in danger or peril.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like I like Mad Max for that as well.
Yeah.
And then. Oh gosh, I love watching, when the Oscars or the Grammys come out, I'll just make sure I watch a good selection of things from it. So my new craze was born out of watching Poor Things. I don't know if you've seen that.
I saw it, yes. Well, there's some hilarious scenes in it.
Absurdist. If you're going to watch it, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Like there's geese with pug heads.
Yes.
And it's not a cartoon. It's set in like a wonderful... Wonder World.
Alternate, kind of...
With a mad scientist. I won't tell you any more because I want you to watch it.
William Dafoe,
I think it's on Disney at the minute.
Oh, it is? Okay.
So Disney have got it on.
There's some, like, Mark Ruffalo, like the sex scenes with him.
Well, this is it. I nearly took my mum, and I'm glad I didn't, because there's far too much shagging to be sat next to someone you'll never shag.
But it's so, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Mark Ruffalo in a girdle having it in a sex scene was just hilarious.
Because I googled who he was after, because I thought he was brilliant.
Oh,
I didn't realise it was him, who's a handsome chappy, and in this thing he's a slobby, horrible, sleazy peed. Isn't he? You know, like, it's just great.
But I love how the tables keep on turning though throughout. You know, like he starts off as a debonair sort of, you know, kind of
rich uncle, I suppose, or something.
Yeah, he's
showing her the world.
Yeah, and he thinks of himself as like a Casanova, but then it just everything falls apart on him. He's destitute, and
I love it. So then I went down a mine hole of like, who made it? Still couldn't tell you who made it. But I did look into it, and then I started watching some of their early stuff. Right. And there's one called The Lobster.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but yes.
Very funny.
With Colin Farrell, isn't it? He's in it. Yeah,
why are you asking me facts? That one, it's just set in modern day England with all the boring things like going to the shops, and so it's a very sort of mundane setting. But it's illegal to be single, and you have to be in a couple, and you have to show your papers to say you're in a couple, but it's, you know, done in a very sort of modern day way. And then if you aren't single, you get to go to this camp, and within a month you have to find a partner, or you get turned into the animal of your choosing.
Oh, wow. Wow, yeah.
And it was very, very funny.
What animal would you...
I'm lorikeet all the way.
Lorikeet, yeah.
Lorikeet, what a life.
Yeah.
What a life. They're never on their own.
Yes.
They just got loads of them.
Yes.
Everybody's happy when they see lorikeets.
Yeah, they are.
No one goes, not another fucking lorikeet. Lorikeets are a pest at the minute.
No.
Nobody says this.
You get food?
You get food. You never see a dead one, although people have told me they've seen dead ones.
Right.
But I've never seen a dead one.
Right.
You see all the other birds dead. Cats eating them.
You do.
You never see dead lorikeets. I don't know what happens there. Have you seen one?
No,
This is it. I don't know why. That's why there's so many, because they never die. And then I really love how impulsive they are. So how and how all the mates just get on board. So if you've ever tried to organise women of my age to do anything, it's all like, oh, I don't eat in that place. And there's a hair in my food once. I don't like drinking after 4. I don't like drinking till 4. It's like this whole thing. Lorikeets, one of them goes, let's fuck off to that tree. And they all go.
Yes.
Like, there's nobody goes, nah, I'm not on for that tree. I've sat in that tree. They just do it.
Yeah, go on, no questions. Come on.
And they never regret it.
Yes.
So I know they don't regret it. So I think the lorikeet for me is just a really cool thing to be.
Yeah, that's and
they always live in nice places as well.
And have the gift of flight. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, to just to be able to just take off on a whim like that.
That would be all right. That would be great. I feel about people who don't swim the same way as you're feeling about flight a little bit. Like, I don't understand how an adult has not learnt to swim, because that's a whole superpower
Right
they've
there.
not accessed.
Right. It's true.
Like, if everybody else could fly, wouldn't you be like,
I better give it a go.
You would, if everyone was flying around, you'd be like, I've just never bothered learning.
Yeah, I don't like wind.
It's just not really my thing.
Yeah.
Tried it once as a
kid,
and
it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. So I think it's a really odd thing. I understand if you grew up in a country where there was no pools, or, but even then you'd see it and be like,
I remember when I was younger for swimming class, I hated putting my head underwater, and the reason for that was when I was 2 years old, my parents left me with their friends who had a pool. And and my mum said, do not let Joel go near the pool, keep an eye on him the whole... Yeah, of course. They had to go out and do some stuff and come back. And when they got back, my mum said, where's Joel? And looked around, and I was sitting on the bottom of the pool, just in the... And my dad... I remember this as a vision. Why
have they gone out and left a 2-year-old?
Right? This was, this was 1970...
That was never right.
Right?
That was never right.
Right. My mum was, understandably, furious. But my dad, fully clothed, jumped into the pool, came down, and I must have just fallen in. And I don't know if this I don't know if this is a memory I've created, but I have this vision, this early vision of seeing through the top of the water and my dad coming in to pull me out of the water. And so from then on, I had this. I didn't consciously recognize it as I got older, but this real fear of putting my head underwater, understandably, right?
Yeah.
And
Can you do it now?
Yeah,
Cool.
fine.
Yeah.
But I remember we had to put our hands up on the edge of the pool and then flap our
Yeah.
legs. And I remember I would always keep my head above the water when doing it. And I remember this, and this was in the day, as teachers could just, they could give you the cane, they could backhand you, whatever.
Oh, you're in that, right? Okay.
And I remember the teacher coming in and just shoving my head and holding my head under the water. And I was so freaked out. Teach this kid a lesson.
Good. Well, you do it now, don't you? So it didn't do too much harm.
Yeah. But it was, for a long time I had that.
Can't get over the fact that they just left a toddler at home with a pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's so many dead ones and so many forever changed ones from exactly that.
Right. But
I
was one of the lucky ones.
Yes.
But I remember at that age watching a film as well, and it's the film that you have selected, none other than Annie.
That was a good segue, yeah. We got Annie. Yes. And I watched it again the other day just for this podcast.
Nice. And how was it watching it again?
So not dated. So good. Mm-hmm. So all the songs are bangers, especially the ones the kid sings. You know, the kids that, the one where she's singing to her parents, maybe they're far away, thinking of me and all of that lot. Yes. And then It's a Hard Knock Life.
It's a Hard Knock Life.
Yeah, all of them. All the kid ones are bangers. Some of the adult ones are a bit dull.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I suppose
Tomorrow, come on.
That used to be my party trick. So in nightclub queues and things, people are going, "Sing Annie," and I'd belt it out. The sun will come out tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic!
And that bit where you go, "And I think of a day," like that. Everybody would be singing it.
Yes.
And that was my thing. And then I suppose I identified she's a little ginger.
Yeah.
I really, I've always loved an underdog, if you like. I think everyone does. But my self-esteem is almost built off underdogs, just helping, and it's dreadful, isn't it? But I loved that she was an orphan. How awful is that?
Yeah, but she's got somewhere.
Mind you, lots of the good films have got orphans. But yes, I really felt for her and wanted her to thrive.
Have that happy life.
I mean, the only thing I did think when I watched it again was like, Daddy Warbucks, he was like, he's made out to be a good guy, but he just has an orphan for a week once a year for PR purposes, and then sends them back to the orphanage.
So out of the gates, he's deplorable.
He is.
But he becomes.
He finds a child in himself.
He learns.
And then he gets all the orphans, more orphans than he can handle. Just like that. Like that. No checks.
Yeah. But he had to have that journey. If he had come out going, "I love you, Annie," well, what are we
and
doing?
Another thing, it's just thrilling. There's just never a point where she's not in danger in that. There's maybe the odd scene where she's just enjoying something, like at the movies or whatever, but the rest of the time, it's perilous.
She's got to be on high alert.
Yes. And so, she's been a strong thing through my life. I've dressed as her at fancy dresses, sang about her in nightclub queues.
So she's been an influential character throughout.
She's just great.
Throughout your life. And when you were younger too, you would have been around the same age seeing her when you saw this when you were younger, right?
Oh, this was 82, wasn't it? Yeah, so I'd have been about her age.
So there was...
And probably very few all-girl casts, because that's what it was. It was a girls' orphanage.
Yes.
I just loved it. Used to, watch it on repeat. And back in the DVD days, not the DVDs, the video days where you had to rewind to your favourite bits.
The VHS. Yeah, that was when the VHS came out when we were kids, that was like a big deal. Yeah. To be able to have the tape and, like you said, be able to rewind and watch it again from that point. Because before that, it was either whenever it comes on TV or see it at the cinema,
She was the best of all the orphans, if you ask me. Because Batman is an orphan kid, because he was an orphan, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he had...
And he's a bit fucking boring.
But Batman, he had he lost his parents, terrible. And I'm sure it's all relative, but come on, he's the richest...
Well, they were relatives, yeah.
He's the richest kid in town.
Well, yes. He didn't need a daddy.
She's in poverty. She's
Oliver. There's not many fun bits in Oliver. Fagan's fun, but there's just so much fun, and she's so fucking spunky. And
I used to think that Daddy Warbuck, Albert Finney, who played him in this, I used to think that was Kojak. Telly Savalas.
Right. Okay.
But because he's bald. When you're a kid, you see the guy. He's bald. I think, oh wow, that's the detective. He's playing his Daddy Warbuck as well. Yeah.
And I had to check out Punjab as well because Punjab was one of my favourite characters.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
The guy with the turban,
mystical powers,
rescued Annie ultimately from a helicopter.
Yes.
With the bridge and that.
That's right.
I had to check.
Because this was originally a play, so obviously the bridge was for the film.
Yeah.
You know, the bridge and the
Well,
helicopter.
our mate Karen Lang was claiming that the new Annie's even better, but I just don't want to go there. I'm gonna be a purist about
They
this.
did one for TV. With Harry Connick Jr. as Daddy Warbuck. Apparently,
you know every famous person's name, don't you?
Well,
You do.
I don't know.
I just cannot retain them.
No? Is that in general in life, like with people's names?
People's names in life are difficult, yes.
Like when I'm bad with that. When I meet someone and there's someone says their name.
I would prefer for everyone to wear name badges.
Yeah.
It would be a lot easier for me if everyone could just walk around with a name badge on.
At work as a nurse.
And how I know them.
Did you have to wear a name tag at work as a nurse? So you were in your prime then?
I was in my prime there, but I need everyone to wear a badge saying what their name is and how I know them.
Did you know people's names before you became a nurse better? Did you remember their names better, do you think?
No, and it's really weird. When you work on a unit, you're usually looking after the same thing, so they'll all have a bowel problem. You know, you work on a bowel ward, and that used to be really hard for me to remember sort of 12 people who, when you're young, all old people kind of look the same.
Right.
When you're young, they definitely do. Now that I'm getting older, they don't.
Right.
But when you're young, it's just like, they're just, if you describe it, you know the one, grey hair, thinning hair, glasses.
Yeah, the whole of Ward
skinny,
24.
and it's just like all of them. And they'd all have the same physical problem as well, you know. It'd be like with diverticulitis, they went for a bowel operation, and yet I would never know which one we're on. I had to really focus to make sure. I had to do all the checks, the date of birth and everything,
had the
just
right
every
medication.
time. Yeah, because I found that really confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never really been.
We should have maybe branded them so that I could tell them apart when they came in.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand the name thing in terms of just in general meetings. Like, I'll meet someone like the festival last night. Oh, here's so and so. I'm like, hey, so and so. I'll say their name and go, you got to remember their name. And 30 seconds later, I got no idea. That's why, and also with having met people too, I never make that mistake. I remember Jason Alexander once said to me, I never say, it was nice to meet you. I always say, oh.
Because you've probably met them before.
Right, so I said, well, what are you saying? He goes, nice to see you.
What about these bastards with the gastric bands now? Like, you know somebody and then you see them in 2 years and it might as well not be them.
Yeah.
I can't get over how different someone looks when they've lost a ton of weight. Like, it's not the same head, it's not the same anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had that this week with someone and she was like, we know each other. And I was like, where from?
Right.
I said, it's Kerry's. I was like, Kerry's? Oh my God. What?
Look
are you all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a friend of mine actually who I did a podcast with. It'll be 2 podcasts before this one.
Yeah.
Joseph Tawadros is this world-renowned world musician. He was here doing WOMAD earlier.
Cool.
He plays the oud, and but he as he says, he's fat. And he goes, look at me. He goes, this is how I was when I first met you, Joel. And I said, but I remember when he lost all that weight. I remember he knocked on my front door once and I answered it. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
like,
it's so different, isn't it?
I remember him saying that.
It's more disarming than seeing somebody who's put on a lot of weight, because that's just a normal part of life.
Yes,
To go the other way.
Of going the other way is a lot rarer. But I reminded him of this. I remember him saying to me, when I lost all that weight, I felt like I lost a side of my identity. And he said on stage he couldn't be as outgoing. He wasn't as, he said, it was a weird thing.
I've got down to 90 kilos once, because when the knees were really bad, it was just easier on the knees. Yeah. I mean, the pain doesn't go away, but it was just easier. And to do that, I had to go on them stupid fucking shakes. I had to forget about
the diet
that's
shakes.
That's not. So I went under a fat nutritionalist, like a bariatric nutritionalist, and she said, because I eat really well, I just eat lots.
Right.
So I cook and I love food and salads and vegetables and soups. I'm mad for, like so. But she was like, you're just too much, and you definitely drink too much wine, and that's not helping. So we're just gonna have a month where you forget about food, then I'm gonna build you up slowly again from there. But so I got down to 90, and I didn't like it either.
Right.
There's a few things I didn't like. I didn't like shopping for clothes, which is weird. When you're fat, there's like 2 shops you can go in, so it was
Done.
dead easy. If it's
Done.
not in there, you can't have it.
Right.
And then to walk around all these shops and have all these choices, because I hate spending money
Right.
on anything that isn't just joy. You know, like
Yes.
socially, I'll spend anything.
On experiences.
But yeah, in the shops, I'd go through a shopping centre, pick all these clothes, and then sit and have a bit of lunch, and then I'd return them all on the way back to the car. Mm-hmm. So I hated that. Yeah, I just didn't feel like myself.
But how did you feel on stage?
Yeah. How did I feel on stage? I don't know. When I went back to being fat again, or fatter again, I definitely stopped telling a lot of jokes about being fat because I was like, it really doesn't matter. Like, it's not how you feel about it.
Yes.
To be self-deprecating. It's not how you feel about it. It's just... Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just didn't enjoy it.
Well, you got nothing to worry about.
I know. Well, yeah, nothing to worry about.
But it is because with Jonathan, my friend Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight, and he was always big.
Amazing.
Yeah. But he lost it through speed. He did a lot of speed.
It's definitely not always healthy.
But also watching him on stage too, it was like, yeah, it was interesting. Like he had lost a little bit of that edge kind of thing. It's like, you know, someone like a John Candy, you know,
yes.
You saw him, like, he was just like, you know, that's how you remember him.
I don't connect it with being healthy either. I understand that there's a point where it becomes unhealthy.
Right.
But I don't connect it like some of my thinner friends. I'm just like, you can't hill walk like I can. I swim a kilometre most days.
Sure,
you know, like it doesn't really, to me, connect with any of it.
Sure.
Yeah, my goals, my fitness goals from now on in life is just to be strong and to keep 10 things more important than booze in my life.
Yeah.
So keep the booze, but always know that
another 10
know
things
that
at
it's
the
not
mall.
in the top 10 most important things.
Sure.
That's kind of my goal.
Sure. Well, between that, conquering America,
Yes.
you know, you're heading back to the UK,
Yes.
which you've already conquered.
I'm doing
and
New
Australia.
Zealand for the first time.
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Where are you going in New Zealand?
Oh, the places.
Different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like like bits of it.
That's great.
You would have to ask our boss. I don't even know where I am when I'm at somewhere half the time.
So when you're on tour, so you have a tour manager, right?
Yes.
When you're on the road, right?
So I choose tour manager and I don't have support.
Right, yes.
I want to be on stage for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, great. So you have a tour manager. So so when you're on the road, where are we going? What time do I need to be there? You tell me what time I need to be in the lobby.
I think
Is
all
it like
of the tour managers universally, when they hand over, just go, if you feed her, if you want to keep her happy, she needs a nap and she needs a good feed, and then she needs 2 wines before she goes on stage.
Everything else will take care of
And
itself.
everything else, yeah, she's very relaxed about everything, but if those 3 things don't happen, she'll be all right.
Yeah. But it's good to have that. It's good to have that, to know what you want. And you know, like when you know when you hear like when people are on tour and they go, oh, they need this in their rider, they need that in their rider.
I don't have any rider.
So nothing backstage?
No, because they charge you like I said. I don't think I'll ever get.
That's hilarious. So not because it's because of the price.
It's the price.
It's like, why am I paying $9?
$136 was the general rider if all I wanted was a bit of cheese and biscuits, fruit, and a bottle of wine and water.
Really?
And they always give you 8 bottles of water, and I'm just like, what am I going to do with that? So yeah, now I will not. I'll just go to Coles on the way to the.
Smart.
That's
smart. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think no matter how much I earn, I don't think I'll ever get out of that making ends meet.
What about when you're on the road, like in terms of hotels and stuff?
Budget. I like all I need is
so you
I don't need anything
just a standard
fancy.
room. It doesn't have to be a suite. It doesn't have to be
nothing.
No. Like if you're say like in a town, you know, like Lismore or something. Will you be fine staying at the local motel nearby? Yeah.
Love a motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try and cut down costs everywhere. And if I go on one night gig, so if I'm just away for one night, so for instance, this coming week, a gig got moved because of the floods or the storms or some fires. I don't know what happened. But yeah, so it's just a one-off. I'm like, I don't need a tour manager for one night.
Yeah, just go in, get it done.
How hard can it be? It's a microphone and a few lights. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
We'll see how hard it can be when I get there.
Yeah,
so I will always cut the costs.
How about flying? Business or?
Long haul, business now.
Smart.
Why would anyone business in Australia?
Right.
The furthest you're going is 4 hours in one plane.
Yeah,
Why would you need the business that?
Yeah. But long haul, you want that comfort.
Well, because then when you get there, you don't have to pay for a hotel for 2 nights because you've slept. And
Yeah. You don't have to do that whole. Yeah, that's smart. So you're already saving there.
Yeah. Always budgeting, mate.
Well, I look forward to you conquering all these new frontiers and India.
And India would be fabulous to tour.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that common, is it? Like people, I don't think it's on that many bucket lists. But I know that I would have an audience there.
Yeah. Anywhere where you've got everywhere there's a hospital, which means everywhere there are nurses.
Anywhere there's humans, yeah.
You can go.
Yes.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing that.
Cheers.
This has been great. Thanks, Georgie.
Thanks, mate.
It's been fantastic. Oh, by the way, we didn't get around to the book. You already explained that.
I explained that. We've got a cupboard full of them here.
We do. Look at that.
I've not read any of them.
You look very well read here.
Well, this is my mum. My mum, when she used to come over every year, she used to buy books and then they just...
And then donate them.
Then they just live here. And my kids are readers.
Right. But you've written a book.
I've written a book.
Yeah,
I've written a book.
I've done enough.
Yes.
I've written a book.
I've written a book, and even that, I couldn't write it from start to finish. It's like chapters that don't connect.
Yeah. Because that's what I was wondering too. And you said, look, I don't read books. So it would be a very unique style of writing that you've created.
Yeah, it's just editorials almost. I call it a good toilet book because it's like you can just read one in a poo.
Yep.
Put it back, never read it again for 3 weeks, come back, and then you don't have to remember who Linda is in chapter 10.
Great.
You don't have to do all that.
There's no overarching narrative.
No. Nobody learns anything.
You're playing to your strengths. Well, I look forward to seeing you continue playing to your strengths.
Cheers, mate.
And once again, it was great to see you rip
And
it up
you,
last
mate.
night.
Nice to know you better.
Yes. Thank you.